The moment their hands met over the same piece of unfinished work, something shifted. A glance was enough. A small nod could guide the next step. Even their silence felt comfortable, like a shared language only the two of them understood. The rest of the cast began to notice too. There was laughter in the background, occasional teasing, but even amidst the noise, Shen and Wang seemed to exist in their own little world. Not isolated, but connected in a way that drew people in rather than pushed them away. "Look at them," someone whispered. "They're not just working, they're creating something together." And it was true. The piece they were working on slowly transformed into something unexpected. It wasn't perfect in the traditional sense. It had flaws, asymmetries, and moments where the colors didn't quite blend the way they should. But somehow, that made it even more beautiful. Because it was real. Every brushstroke carried a story. Every color choice reflected a decision made together. It was a visual representation of compromise, trust, and mutual respect. At one point, Dylan leaned back to observe their progress, his arms crossed as he tilted his head slightly. "You know," he said, a hint of amusement in his voice, "this actually turned out better than I expected." Shen laughed softly, a light, genuine sound. "Better than you expected?" she teased. "So, you didn't have much faith in us?" He shook his head quickly, smiling. "No, I just didn't know it would feel like this." She didn't ask what he meant. Maybe she already knew. As the final touches were added, there was a quiet sense of accomplishment between them. Not the loud, celebratory kind, but something more meaningful. The kind that settles gently in your chest, reminding you that what you just experienced mattered. When they stepped back to look at their finished work, there was a pause. Not because they were unsure, but because they were taking it in. "It's beautiful," Shen said softly. Dylan glanced at her before looking back at the piece. "Yeah," he replied. "It really is." But it wasn't clear whether he was talking about the artwork or the moment they had just shared. What made this experience stand out wasn't just the result, it was the journey. In an environment like the inn, where personalities, pressures, and expectations constantly collide, it's easy for moments like these to feel forced or performative. But this wasn't that. This was natural. Shen didn't try to be louder than she is. Wang didn't try to overshadow her. Instead, they met in the middle, each bringing their strengths, each respecting the other's space. And in doing so, they created something that felt authentic. Fans watching couldn't help but notice the subtle details, the way Dylan would instinctively step in when Shen looked unsure, the way she would gently guide him when his energy became too rushed. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't exaggerated. It was real connection. And perhaps that's why it resonated so deeply. Because in a world where everything is often polished and perfected for the camera, seeing two people simply be supportive, patient, and genuinely in sync is rare. As the day came to an end, the artwork remained, a quiet testament to what can happen when two people choose to work together, not just physically, but emotionally. It wasn't about who did more. It wasn't about who led. It was about how they met each other halfway. And maybe that's the real beauty of it all. Not the colors, not the design, not even the final product. But the way Shen and Dylan Wang, in one simple shared task, reminded everyone watching that the most meaningful creations don't come from perfection, they come from connection.